So, it is the next day. Let me fix my ring real quick. Right there. Alright. So, it's the next day, and I had someone add something. So, we're going to go for a bonus, number 11. Don't be afraid to say their names. We love our siblings. We miss our siblings. Not saying their name. Sorry about all the sunlight. Not saying their name is not going to make it any easier for us or harder on us. There we go. It's not going to make it any easier for us or any harder on us. So, we like hearing their names. We like hearing how they are remembered. So don't be afraid to say their names. Hey y'all, I'm Callie. And this is my husband Ashton. We met in a classic whirlwind boy meets girl romance. It didn't take us very long to know we wanted to get married. So, after 1.5 years of laughter and smiles, Ashton proposed. We decided to get married shortly after and got married in March of 2019. Knowing we wanted a family, we did not hesitate. And that is when we adopted our fur baby, Dami. A human baby proved to be a little more difficult than we thought. We are the Rowell fam, and this is our TTC journey. So, November is National Sibling Bereavement or Sibling Grief Month. Something I have not personally shared much on this channel is I lost my brother 1 year and 3 months ago. A little over 1 year and 3 months. July 28th, 2019, I lost my brother in a motorcycle accident when he was hit on his motorcycle. He was only 28, and I might share a part of my experience in grief and grieving my big brother, my older brother Spencer, because I feel it's important to talk about. So that is why I'm making this video for you all, because it's important to talk about. I felt so alone in my grief. I did eventually find a sibling grief support group on Facebook, and that has actually helped me. One of the things that has helped me in my grief journey, as I call it, because it's not something I'll get over, it's something I have to go through. And that's the same with any other person grieving. It's not something you get over. You don't just get over the loss of your loved one. It's something you have to go through. And it's something you will carry with you. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to break down crying in the store. I may have done that one or a few times. We'll see. I haven't done it in a while. Alright. So, in that sibling grief group, grief support group on Facebook, I asked, what do you guys want other people to know about grieving your sibling? Now, mind you, this is people from actually all over the world. Not just here in America, but all over the world. And it's people who have lost their siblings at different ages, different ways, and some are very traumatic ways. So not everyone's grief journey is the same, but I'm just doing um, things that really stuck out to me personally in my grief journey, and um, the way it relates, and the way I can relate to those people. But not everyone has this experience. There are other different factors that can go into grief that make it very, very different for each individual person, and that's okay. So, because not everyone's relationship with their sibling is the same. So for me, this one is one that stuck out. You lose your built-in best friend. Now, I don't know if I necessarily would have called my brother my best friend, but I did look up to him. He was my big brother. He was my protector, my defender. He'd call me out if I was in the wrong. He'd call me out and he'd let me know. He very much believed in tough love for me. Very much so. Um, yeah. So, a lot of people, you lose your best friend, especially if it's a sibling of the same gender. Now, I don't have a sister, never have. I was the annoying little sister. That was me. And I had two big brothers. That was my life. So, we were close though. Um, he defended me. He protected me. Um, I didn't know it, but I would find out after he passed that he would brag about me and how he was proud of me and how he thought I was so strong. But little did he know that part of why I was so strong was all the tough love he gave me. So thank you, Spencer, for that. And you'll see me looking down at my laptop, and that is because I have a top 10 things that stuck out to me. One was, you've become the sole keeper of memories that you two have. I can't go and talk to Spencer and ask him if he remembers a certain story. I can't ask him because my mom and I can't remember how Spencer talked our mom into getting a bird. How? We don't remember. We just know he did. So that's a huge thing. You can't go back and ask that person, hey, do you remember this? And get what they remember from that situation. You can't. That no longer can happen. It's your memory and your memory alone. And sometimes that can play tricks in your mind. Did that really happen? Especially with me, my memory is really bad. So now I feel like I've lost a lot because I'm also losing those memories. The third one, I'm just going to keep going right on. You lose more than just the person. And I'm going to touch on other aspects of this with other things in this list, but you lose more than just the person. I attend GriefShare studies, or not studies, GriefShare groups. And I'm currently going through my third time, and that's okay. I get new things each time from GriefShare. And this is what they call secondary losses. So for me, I lost someone I could go to for advice. Now I do have others I can go to for advice, but I lost someone I went to for advice. I can't ask him questions on video editing like I would have. I had to blaze this trail alone. I didn't have his help like I would have. I lost the uncle to my husband's and I's future children. Um, I lost my friend. I lost my brother. So it it's definitely really difficult. Um, so kind of going off on that, number 4, you grieve the future you should have had together. Now, what that means is I grieve that I will never be able to call my brother and tell him that he's an uncle. I grieve that I'll never get another text or a call from him. I never again will get a late birthday text because he'd forgotten my birthday. Um, I I won't I won't get another call saying I'm gonna be daddy again. Um, you grieve those things, and in the world of GriefShare, that is also considered a secondary loss. You grieve the future you should have had together, because no one should lose a sibling in their 20s, because you never expect that to happen to you. Your relationships, going right on to number 5, your relationships will not be the same. And that's partly because of going down to number 6. It's partly because of trauma. So my relationships will never be the same. I'm always going to worry about my surviving brother making it home safe. I'm always going to worry about my mom and my dad. I'm always going to worry about my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. I'm always going to worry about my grandma, my husband's family. I'm going to worry. I'm going to worry about if they made it home safe, if they've taken a trip. I'm going to worry if they've made it home safe, even from work. Because my brother was just killed in an accident. You never know if you're going to be in an accident, and you never know. You never know. And so your relationships will not be the same, because in some ways I, in a sense, have become more protective, maybe, more cautious, for sure. Definitely more cautious about that. Number 6, trauma. Depending on how you lost your sibling and when you lost your sibling, I do think there are different ranks of trauma, but it is traumatic. I have read it being likened to losing a limb and learning how to live without a limb, because I, up until July 28th, 2019, never knew what a world without my brother looked like. Never knew. Never knew what a world without my brother would be like. I never knew. So in that sense, it's like I lost. You lose a sense of security, for sure, because part of that trauma is you're faced with your own mortality, not just your own mortality, but the mortality of everyone else you love. You're faced with looking in the eye the mortality of your parents, your other sibling or siblings, your husband, your wife, your aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. I've already lost my grandma, one of my grandmas, which was my first major loss, and then my brother. I think 9 years later? 8 years? I'm trying to remember. I'm not good at math, and I'm doing math on the spot, so forgive me. So there is trauma involved, because, like I said, they liken it to learning how to live without your limb. So number 7, anxiety. Anxiety can come in many different forms. Anxiety has many different triggers. For me, just seeing a motorcycle is a trigger because my brother was on his motorcycle when he died. So for me, that is a trigger, especially when the writer is not wearing a helmet. It's a huge trigger for me. So you do get anxiety. You get anxiety, and like in my case, I am actually, it's really weird. I guess not because it's my reality though. Turning 28 in January, the same age as my brother, it fills me with a lot of anxiety because I should never be older than my brother. I should not be older than my older brother. So that gives me a sense of anxiety because it's reminding me that nothing is in my control. So that is a little bit of my anxiety. I know a lot of these people have their own anxieties that they deal with, but that was a huge thing that I saw reoccurring was anxiety and the trauma. Number 8, the grief you feel and the joy can coexist, and that when we have our good days, it doesn't mean that we're not still hurting on those good days. It's really interesting when you talk to someone, not just someone who's lost a sibling, but someone who's had a major loss. You ask them if they can remember the first time they laughed, and they usually can tell you. I remember the very first time I laughed after my brother passed away, and it was almost, I felt wrong. And it was a story about him that made me laugh, and it was good though. I needed that laughter. It was a good break from all the tears and the crying, from the shock, the sheer shock of it all. So I very vividly remember what made me laugh. And a friend had told me that Spencer had posed a question at work when they worked together, that he wondered if people pooped in heaven. And that made me laugh, so I just looked up to the sky and I said, well, bro, do you poop in heaven? Because at that point he would have known. So that doesn't mean that I didn't have pain. And just because I smile and I laugh doesn't mean that I don't have pain. It just means that I'm giving myself permission to be happy again. And I definitely word it like that for a reason. I have to give myself permission to be happy again. Another thing that I saw that really stuck out to me, you wish you hadn't taken the time with them for granted. Now this is true especially when the person you lost was younger. When the person you lost was younger, you definitely wish that you hadn't taken that time with them for granted. I wish I hadn't taken my time with my brother for granted. I wish I would have hugged him the last time I saw him in person, because I didn't. I just said, "See you later, bro." And I didn't know I wouldn't be seeing him later. So you definitely wish you hadn't taken that time for granted. 10. A huge thing that I saw once again. You are not who you were before the trauma, before the grief, and before the pain. I can no longer live in blissful ignorance and a naive thought that that kind of pain would not touch me and my family. I am now painfully aware that it can happen, and it can happen again. So, that was the 10 things siblings want you to know about their grief. The reason I felt this was so important was because siblings are often called the forgotten mourners, and they shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. We should not be the forgotten mourners. I do this to raise awareness because before I lost my sibling, I didn't know. So I'm doing this to kind of raise awareness about this pain. You often think about burying your parents, your grandparents, even your aunts and your uncles, but you don't think that you will have to bury your sibling. You think you're gonna have so much time with them, and that's not always the case. So yeah, this video was a little bit different than we normally do. We've got some pretty big updates coming your way concerning our foster care journey. Yay! If you're new here and you haven't, go ahead, click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because I'm not really on a schedule right now as far as posting videos. So go ahead and click the notification bell so you know when we post our videos. Smash the like button and comment down below. See you guys. Bye.
Don't ever say goodbye. I need you to say hello. If we never